Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talk to Rami Show. This is Rami, your host. And today, on this episode, I would like to welcome Dr. Daren Martin, who has his own podcast as well, Dr. Martin Show. Am I right?
Yes,
Yeah.
The Daren Martin
Yeah.
Show. It's pretty
Martin
easy to
is
find.
Martin is a well-known business consultant, author, speaker, and Dr. Martin specializes in transforming company cultures and leadership. With his bestseller, A Company of Owners, he brings a wealth of knowledge in creating an engaging, productive workplace environment. What you have done, Martin, is amazing. I listened to some of your speakings, and you really hit it. You really hit it. What is the problem with our leadership and especially with the culture? And my question, how did you pivot? What was your pivotal moment for you in your career? You said, I want to go talk about the culture. I want to go talk about leadership. Did you really suffer from the bad leadership or the bad culture?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So backstory, ran my own business for 20 years, built it from scratch, from the ground up. I was in the process of getting my PhD in psychology, and I started a practice, which turned into, at some point, we had 50 different people within the organization, mostly counseling, but we had admin, support and all of that. And I went through a life change, as many people do. Uh, Divorce, crash and burn, sold the business. It was just, I
I've been
started
there,
looking
done that.
around. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I said, I have been there and done that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's more of us that have than haven't. And we're not recommending it, but if you
No.
are in that space, there is life after, because I can tell you, Rami, there were times when I didn't know if there was, right? So I was, imagine at 44, I can't remember, 45, whatever, uh, living in my parents' house, okay,
Wow.
with having sold my business and not making much income at all. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do? What do I want to do, moving into the future? And I I had offers from financial firms, Smith Barney and UBS, and go be a financial manager and blah blah blah. But what's always been my passion is business. And so I signed on with a little boutique consulting firm, started working with them, got some big wins with everything from, well, I feel safe in saying the largest defense contractor in the world, and some other, Southwest Airlines, some other places can be mentioned, but started doing some work. And what I realized going in and out of companies was that they were in, and not necessarily those companies I've mentioned, but they were broken. I mean, companies were broken. They had success financially. They were doing important and interesting things. And yet the daily experience that people were have going into work, the gap between just, what it felt like to be there and what they were producing was huge. And that's where I really started getting interested in what I do now. As I say, when you're in a lot of different companies, you start to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when I did that, then I started writing about it. That's where, my Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller, A Company of Owners, came from, because of this idea of, you want to create a company where people act like owners. And it just kept siphoning down into, it's about the culture. It is culture, culture, culture. I asked someone just north of you, um, Mark Cuban, actually, at a deal. I said, Mark, you invested in 150 companies, you own a bunch of companies. And of course, Mark's had his own ups and downs. But I said, in your opinion, how important is company culture? And he said, culture is everything. I said,
Amen.
to the success of the business, how important is culture? He says, company culture is everything. And then he looked at me again and repeated it. Culture is everything. And I went, wow, okay. That's a pretty big endorsement coming from a, multi-billionaire who's uh, been involved in business at every level. So I think it's the most important conversation to be having in 2023. And yet, for some reason, it's on the back burner for a lot of leaders and a lot of companies.
I totally agree with you, Martin. Based on my experience, I have been in business for many years, and as you know, went through divorce. Actually, I was 40, then I got divorced, and I lost everything. You're kind of the
Mm,
same age, but you know, and I got interested into the people. Who are people? Because everything goes back to people. Any
yeah.
business, any concept, any company, if you look at it at the end of the day, it goes back to people, which is the culture and how you're
Mm,
going to build that culture. Because if you go to work and you're not fulfilled and happy and you don't feel safe, what is the point of going to work?
mm.
And that's the key. That's what I'm always saying and telling other people, that if you hate for what you do and you collecting a paycheck, what is the point? There's two things: the leaders creating that environment, or you pick something that you really don't like it,
Yeah.
even to
Yeah.
doing it. But these days, and I totally agree with you, 2023 going forward, even 2024, this culture is important. I don't know if you heard the WeWork just filed bankruptcy. The WeWork,
Wow.
the workspace, and then it was one of the reasons they filed bankruptcy was on the news. Very bad leadership and cultural structure in the company. That was
Mm.
one of the reasons they filed bankruptcy and they went out of the business.
I think we're going to see a lot of that. And Ronnie, I would love to pivot off of something that you said, because I always get asked, is it the leadership, bad leaders? We know, I mean, we know
Yeah.
just that statistically and every other way, people don't leave companies, they leave managers. You've got some toxic leadership, you've got a lot of that. Okay, so that let's put that aside. Maybe, yeah, it's leadership. Um, and then people say, well, it's the workers. People just don't want to work, right? They're lazy, or they're this or that, or it's those darn millennials. Even though the statistics that show low employee engagement has been around long before any of that, right? I think it's a bigger issue, and it's the complete paradigm we have of work, what work is. And I think with the Industrial Revolution and some other factors, it got reduced down to one thing. Work used to be pre-industrial, let's say, that you're a farmer, your meals depend on getting up early in the morning, going
Yep.
out, taking care of the pigs and the cows and the whatever, doing whatever you're doing and planting the crops. And then the harvest, you had to work 22 hours, and that was your passion, that was your job. And some days you hated it, some days you loved it, but you did it. Or you have craftsmen, artisans who were making cabinets and they poured themselves into it. Well, with industrialization, work got all the passion sucked right out of it. And it became this: you go to work, you do what I tell you, and I'll give you some money for it. It was so transactional.
Very.
And what's happened is, these many years later, it's just grinded and grinded and grinded to where people are going. And we see this with this generation. I don't want that deal. I'm not taking that deal. I've heard old um, people say things like, well, they get paid for it. That should be enough. Well, that's not enough. You know, uh, it's like, you get married and you tell your wife, well, or husband, let's be fair, but hey, I bring home the money. That should be enough. You shouldn't expect anything else from me. You shouldn't expect love and affection and kindness and joy and all that stuff. No, the money. That's all. That's all that matters, right?
That's it.
Well, that doesn't work at home, and it certainly doesn't work from a work standpoint. And that's where we've got to get back into the idea of reinventing this thing we call work, because even the language we use, we talk about the grind. Typically at work, when people say, I'll say, well, how's it going today? And they'll say, well, living the dream. And when
Yep.
anybody says that, they do, Robbie, they don't mean it. They do not mean it. What they mean is, oh, life
I
sucks, but the weekend's coming,
absolutely
right?
agree with you. They
We
don't mean it.
No, so we drag in on Monday, we dance out on Friday. I mean, all the indicators are there that people are just suffering through work, waiting till they get to their life, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. I think people are supposed to be doing things they're passionate about in environments that are passionate about them doing it, and in ways that are dynamic and fulfilling. Because unfortunately, what happens when you go to work and work is not great and you go home and you're miserable, guess who you put that out on? The other people around you, your community, your friends, your family. And guess what they do? Then that reverberates. And it's how we end up in a culture on a more global scale that is tired and frustrated and angry, and everybody's, I think it pivots back to this whole thing that there's no real meaning in what people are doing to pay for that sandwich they want to have, or to be able to take their family out to dinner. They're generating that money by a pound of their flesh, and consequently it's taking it out on them. So I'm sorry, that got dark really quick, Robbie.
No, no,
I
no, no,
didn't
no,
mean
no. I totally agree with you. Basically, that sparked something in my mind that I had a conversation with one of my fellow executives and the leaders, and then he said, "You talk always about the culture of your company. I really like your culture. How do you do it?" I said, it's very easy. You don't. It's not complex. You guys, you make it so complicated. Just give you an example. You have two kids, yeah? And he says, yeah. I say, if your kid get like F in his math test, would you put him for adoption? And he said, what? I said, no, I'm asking you, would you put him out for adoption? Oh, you got F, I'm going to put you for adoption, get another one. You're not doing that. And he said, what this has to do with the company? I said, if you treat your company like your family, and the culture would create its own. And you cannot treat your employee, because nobody is perfect. And I always hire for attitude rather than skills, because we do all the respect. We can teach the skills to a monkey. It's okay. But when you hire people for attitude and then you really respect them and understand them, they will be there for you. Unfortunately, these days, as you know, you just mentioned that they're looking at it as a number. Every company looks at the employees as a number, and they come to your cubic and they say, Martin, you didn't met your quarterly numbers, and we're going to have to let you go.
Yeah,
Rather than to come to you and say, Martin, how's it going? How's family? How's your
yeah,
daughter? I said you're getting married, or everything's okay. That anything we can help you to just kind of bounce back and maybe get the performance up. Anything is outside happening, we can help you. If you act like that, you actually create that safety zone that people that would trust you
yeah.
with their
Yes,
life, with their
yes.
everything. But that's the things that we're not building that. We just, as you said, come to work, get a paycheck, go home. You were hired to do this. That's it. No feedback. No, it's just weird right now, man. It's just people don't get it.
And Robbie, I love that you say it's not hard. It's easy. It's not. I always say culture is hard, but I also say culture is really, really easy. People ask me with my company of owners, how do we get people to act like owners? And I look at them and say, there's a simple answer to that: treat them like owners,
Yep.
right? And I heard a great story about a major retailer, uh, probably the largest other than Amazon physical space retailer in the U.S. Let's just say, and a regional manager told his manager that he was going to fire the local store manager.
Mm.
He said, "Why?" He says, "Well, 3 months his numbers have been terrible, and I'm going to replace him." So his boss goes out, and I don't even like that terminology, but his manager goes out to the store and walks around, talks to people. Hey, how do you like the manager? Oh, we would do anything. We love him. He's amazing. He's great. Well, the numbers have been down the last 3 months. Oh yeah, well, you may not know this, but his wife came down with cancer, and he's focused 90% of his time there, and he's not able to be here. The store was thriving before; it was doing great. So he calls up the regional guy and he says, "Don't ever make a personnel change without going out and finding out what's going on the ground, because here's a person that had proven competent, capable, but got lost in the machine, right? And he said, let's get this guy some help and let him be able to go take care of his wife and put a temporary person in there. So when you find out what people are really dealing with, and what the gaps are, you might find that you have people that could perform at a much bigger level, and they're just not able to. I'll give you one that I'm going to write a blog on, but I'm going to break this groundbreaking idea on this podcast. Okay.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Peter Principle? Have you ever heard this? The Peter
No.
Principle. It's kind of old now, but it's been around a while. And basically, it says people rise in an organization to their level of incompetence.
Wow.
So you get somebody, for example, who's really good at doing the technical or the physical. They're great with the machine. And you say, hey, you're so great at it that we're going to promote you and we're going to make you a manager over the whole group, or over the whole, department or division or whatever. They get into that position and they're terrible at it. And then they just rock along, right? And we say, oh, well, that's the Peter Principle. That's just the way it works. No, the problem is that we haven't done what you're talking about. Someone's getting a failing grade on people leadership because they've never been taught, they've never had any experience. And we're saying, okay, you're out. You're out of that position. Or we leave them there and let everybody else suffer. The Peter Principle, people don't rise to their level of incompetence, they rise to their level of lack of training and education. And unfortunately, companies forget that just because someone started here and had their degree and so forth, and they started at this position, as they advance in the organization, they need what? More training, more development, more mentoring, more coaching, all of those things. But they don't provide those things. They expect people to just pick it up on their own. And that's just one small segment
I have
of.
seen that. I have
Yeah.
seen that. Actually, we had a law enforcement, like a scenario that was true that it was a officer, and then they promote him to sergeant to be overseeing some of the officer in operation, and the guy failed miserably
Mm,
because they ranked him because of his experience on the street, but not his leadership. He was a horrible
mm,
leader, and he said, "I want to go back on the street. I don't want to do this," because he wasn't trained to do that. And
yes.
you're absolutely right. Now I understand it, that you kind of rank people based on their skills, not based on how much they know about to lead others, or what are the principles and how they're gonna act.
Einstein said measuring a fish on the ability to climb a ladder I'm butchering it, but is ridiculous, right? When you say, oh, that fish, we got to fire them, they're not very smart, they're not very capable. Why? Well, because he's supposed to climb that ladder, but the fish couldn't climb the ladder. Well, that's not what fish do. Fish don't climb ladders, right? They're not equipped for that. um, and I love I actually think it's in company, but the conversation you may have heard between the CFO and the CEO. And the CFO says, well, what if we train all these people, because they're putting together this program? What if we train all these people and they leave? And the CEO goes, well, what if we don't train them and they stay? Um, so there's a gap there, and I don't know. One of the reasons, just in our brief conversation that we had a while back, I think we were instant friends. Because
Yes.
I first of all, I love your energy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and we're passionate about the same thing, which is people. What you
People.
said.
People.
This is not about the reality that companies could do so much better. They could do better financially. It's been shown. A Harvard study showed you get your culture right, you see a um, up to 756% increase in your net profitability over the course of 10 years. I mean, if I was a CEO, CFO, whatever, partner in a company, I would be salivating at that. That's not the point. The point is that how that happens is when you get your culture right, the people are invested and involved in the company, and they're going home much more satisfied, and it shows. Um, they're great companies that have great cultures, and they way outproduce everybody else.
Oh, absolutely. The same thing when you're coming into the company with a toxic culture. Oh my God, I've been there.
Yeah,
It's horrible, man. It just sucked the energy out of you. And you said, I don't want to be here. You don't want to even work. And
yeah,
I see so many friends, they hate their job. They
yeah,
hate their job. I said, what is the point you going there? And he said, I gotta pay the bills. I gotta pay the
yeah,
bills. I said,
yeah.
pay the bills, but start thinking, start doing something else. Personally prefer to get paid less but be happier.
I think that's a lot of people get paid less and be happier. It, is something that this generation's crying out for. They're saying, "No, I'm not going to sell my soul to the company store. I'm not going to give it all away." The the interesting thing is, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both and. Because if people are happy at work, company's doing well, they can be reimbursed on a way that makes more sense, and that it can be better. It's an I just got off the phone with my friend of mine, Dave Clare, who I need to connect you with. He'd be
Oh,
great on the
absolutely.
show. Yeah, Dave is the um, soon to be. He's, let's just say, I'm not going to announce it, but he's going to have a very prominent position. He's already the head of the Pan Pacific area for Global Company Culture Association. Um, but Dave says you want an ecosystem, not an ego system.
I love that. I
I
love that.
love that. So I told him
Oh
I would
my God.
always quote him on that, because he
Me
was like,
too. I
"Now,
want to start doing that.
yeah, yeah. Well, quote Dave Clare, but don't
Yeah,
quote
Dave
Darren Martin,
Clare.
because
Yeah.
I didn't say that. He said that.
As
But
David Clare said,
yeah, David Clare said so. We have a lot of ecosystems out there. An ecosystem, is an interdependent system that everything relies on everything. And in a perfect, rainforest, or in a perfect, world, that's kind of the way it works. Everything plays its role. It's the circle of life. If we, Kuna Matata or whatever. No, I'm sorry, that's not the song I was
yeah,
going for.
I always tell people that I am nobody without my team, and they say, "How you are so certain about that?" I said, "It's a fact. I
Yeah,
can't do anything without my team, and my team they're most young people." And I can tell you a story, Martin. It was COVID happened, and a lot of business got hit pretty big,
yeah,
and I decided, okay, what I'm going to do, lay off people or have a heart to heart conversation with them. I gather everybody on Friday and I said, guys, we have to let some people go, or I'm open to any suggestion. I have one solution, but I don't know if anybody wants to do that. And one guy says, what is your solution, sir? I said, we all don't get paid. And they all look at each other. I said, guys, I love all of you. You're the family. I don't want to put any of you for adoption,
yeah,
but, but, and this is the only way we're going to make through this. We are all together and we're going to
yeah.
come back. We're going to bounce back. Make the story short, we all did not take a penny as our salary for 4 months.
Wow,
And then we
wow,
all came to work 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 for 4 months. They had families, they got girlfriends, wives, kids, and everything. They said, "Oh, we're gonna talk to our spouses and girlfriends. We're gonna kind of scrap the things. I call my mom, call my." Anyway, we all made it, and after we made it, and then we start getting our payback, and they were so happy. That's what nobody leaves. Nobody likes to leave. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying that creating a culture like that, that is one for all for one, and we all work together and we understand. Like I sometimes I ask question from my 22 years old staff. I say, "Excuse me, I need help with this," and say, "Are you serious?" I said, "I don't know it."
yeah,
And I don't
yeah,
know. He said, "Are you joking?" I said, "No, I study technology, but this is, man, it's things changing every day. But I know you guys are playing a game. You understand?" He said, "Oh, let me tell you that would build actually their self confidence because It doesn't matter how old are you still can be important.
I love it. And what happened there, if I may, is you banked all of that goodwill and all of that. If people had hated working for the company and the only reason they were there, the only reason they even, came through the door or were involved was because of the paycheck,
Oh
they
yeah.
would have no way agreed to that deal. They agreed to that deal because of what it was like being a part of it. They wanted to invest back in, they wanted to connect, and they were able to go and convince their families because of every day they go home and they tell their family how much they hate going to work every day.
Oh yeah.
And then they go home and say, oh, by the way, we're not going to get paid for a while. The family would rise up in revolt. Well, quit. Yeah, we'd rather have you here than there not getting paid.
You know,
So,
I had a friend and he said he's got 300, no, 240 employees. He said, man, the company's getting big. I can't really connect with anybody. I said, bullshit. I
yeah,
said, you have 240 employees. The whole year is 365 days.
yeah,
One person a day for
yeah.
30 seconds. You cannot really pick up the phone and dial their department and say, how you doing, Mark? I just want to check on you. I heard your manager say you're doing a perfect job. You're doing a good job. I just want to say, I'm up here, but I'm watching. Anything you need, just call.
Mm,
30 seconds. He was quiet. I said, don't give me that crap. It's not that hard. Even if you get 1,000 employees, one mass email, whatever it is, or go to cafeteria one day and just walk around and talk to everybody, whoever, at least they see your existence. The
yes,
leadership is not just sitting in the back of the room and say, okay, guys, go over there. I'll be with you. No, you got to be in the front.
yeah.
They don't get that.
Lead,
How complex is that? I don't get it.
it goes such a long way, and I'm a big fan of leadership management by walking around. I think leaders who isolate themselves. I read, and this is not true now, but one of the former CEOs of Exxon, huge company. What was it? I don't know. It was 500, $1 billion, but whatever it is, it's a big number. When he got on the elevator, no one else was allowed to get on the elevator.
What the heck?
And I get it from a security standpoint. You've got someone that is running a company that large, in our world and in any world, but they're at risk that somebody could kidnap them, plot something, do something. But what I think the signal it sends is, I don't want to talk to you. And what I have always enjoyed when I advise and work with companies. There was a company, an oil and gas company, I was doing some work with, and they would have this thing called supervisor school, and they would bring people from all over the organization, people that hadn't been there that long, that were not doing management jobs. Even they were out running the equipment or doing things. They would bring them together for this. And one of the things I prided myself on is that the mixers and the happy hour, I knew the CEO and I knew this person that was out, turning the valve, as I say. And I would say, hey, have you met, Jim, have you met the CEO? No, oh, no, they'd be like, whoa, that's the CEO. And I'd bring him over. CEO was great. He'd have a beer with them. He'd talk about, well, tell me about you. Tell me about your family. That person would walk away from that event going, I love this company. And all that stuff we say about management, they don't care. That's not true. I met Mike. Mike's a great guy. Mike really cares about us out here. And it was because of that proximity and that involvement and engagement. So great leaders understand the importance. And it's not just understanding it intellectually, it's caring about it from the heart. I treat everybody as if they're the most important person in the company.
Yeah.
When
How many times have you, heard this that you ask somebody, how's work? It's okay. And if they're excited, as you had just mentioned, if they are
Yeah,
really thriving it and they love it, they will say, let me tell you, Marty, man, we have the most amazing boss. We have the most amazing CEO. And, they start talking and talking. I have seen it. They
yeah,
start talking about it because they're so happy. And they're not talking about the pay or anything else. And They are so fulfilled. But these days, as you said, with the rise of technology, which is, I had a friend, he said, "Oh, now I can, I can get rid of a couple of people that, I'm going to, change them with the AI." I said, "Are you stupid?" I said, "What the heck are you thinking, dude?" I said, AI is another tool, is
Yes.
another tool in your toolbox. You're not going to replace the human with the information, artificial intelligence, which is, it does amazing things, but it's still, artificial intelligence cannot do that stroke of the paintbrush on the canvas.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
human. How can you?
It definitely is going to create situations for people to do even more meaningful work, because the rote stuff that just follows a pattern and a path that people do all day and they get bored with and they need to take time off for their brain to, a lot of that I do believe, Rami, is going to go away, which puts people in the more creative space.
Creative. I agree
I,
with you.
I think we talked about this, but you're in Austin. I'm invested in and connected with a company called Paradromics. I don't know if you're familiar with
I
them. They're in
heard
your
that. I don't know that much, but I
backyard.
heard.
Yeah. Um, a phenomenal company that is working on a brain interface,
Wow.
which would first thing help people that are blind be able to see, the deaf hear, people um, paraplegic be able to communicate at a much more rapid fashion than now the very tedious process. And I mean, the best comparison is Neuralink with what Elon is
Oh
creating
yeah.
and doing. It's a very similar deal. Technology is different. I think in some ways it's got some advantages and is better, but we're we're in that sense we're harvesting and leveraging the power of AI or computing rather than replacing it.
It's
And
a creative tool. Yes.
yeah, it's very matrixy, not on the we're batteries side of it, but in the ability to say, teach me how to fly a helicopter, and boom, that capability's there.
Yeah, we use it in our company as another tool. Like my guys are using it,
Yeah,
and it's like Adobe as other tools that is out there. They're using it. They're learning. It definitely cuts down the learning time, and it gives you more time to be creative and focus on the stuff that you need to focus on. That's
I
that's the key.
I had a guy I was doing some work with Lockheed actually, and maybe one of the smartest people I've ever met. It was their simulation training division. And he said, in the future, there may be no training. And I said, what do you mean, no training? Of course, there's going to be training. And he said, no, if things become more and more intuitive, you don't need to be trained on it. And I thought about this. Well, I don't know. It's over there. Can't reach it. But when the smartphone came out, remember it had that little flashing
Oh
arrow that said
yeah,
slide this,
I remember that.
and you would slide it, and then boom, the phone would come on, and then it would have, weather, maps, all that.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, okay, well, I want weather. Maybe I push that button. It was so intuitive that you didn't have to have a day class in how to use your iPhone. Um, because it was intuitive. And I really think that with computers and all of that, we are maybe coming to the point where we're going to waste a lot less time on the training aspect of things and be able to get to objective a lot quicker. But I don't. I am so sorry, Rami. I've
No, no,
ventured us
no,
off
no,
into the
no.
AI world and into something that I know you're passionate about as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. That's very fascinating. But based on Martin, based on your experience, I know you have spoken with so many leaders, train them, consult with them. What is this common denominator, like a common mistake these guys they make? This leader when they're trying to build a company, and I created a great culture, because I think the leadership has a direct correlation, direct correlation with culture.
Hmm.
Is really connected with each other. Do you think, what is the biggest mistakes this guy, or the stuff they don't know, of course? What is it? What is these guys they need to know?
I think it's the last thing you said, the stuff they don't know. They're up here on the top of the mountain and they assume that everyone is having a very similar experience to what they're facing right here. And the reality is that's not the case.
Hmm.
When you, as I say, when you get what the stated culture is, this is our mission, this is who we are, this is so forth, to what the actual culture is, the bigger the gap between those two, the more dysfunctional the company. It's the stated culture versus the hidden culture. So as I say, leaders, if they want to know what's really going on, they've got to get out of the suite and into the street. They've got to get, like we were talking about, go talk to some people, find out, hear from people. Um, and I don't think it's because they don't care for the most part. I mean, let's face it, there's some bad, there are just some bad leaders out there that only have one agenda. It's for themselves or for
Yep.
whatever. But that's not the majority. I think the stuff that keeps leaders awake at night is, why aren't our people more engaged? Why are, we not doing as well as we used to when we were smaller, those sorts of things. And it all comes back to culture. But the when they say it's lonely at the top, there's a lot of truth to that. So you can address that loneliness though by not being necessarily at the top, by inverting that pyramid where it's not I'm up here, it's I'm down here. Here are the people running the business. I used to see this with the oil and gas company that I had a 10-year running contract with, is the people making the money today, right now, are not the financial, relations people at headquarters. It's not the C-suite. It's not HR. It's not accounting. It's the people actually out there producing the oil.
Yeah.
Uh, the ones that are turning that into jet fuel or whatever, all the stuff they were doing. And we lose sight of that. And I think the leaders, the more they get out and see what's going on with the people, we've seen this way pre technology and advancement. The smart leader of a country was one who didn't just stay in the ivory tower, as we refer to it, but got out and put on beggar rags and roamed around the country and found out what was going on. This is
Yep.
why Undercover Boss is such a popular show, because they think, oh, everything's fantastic,
And they
and
go
then
in
they
there.
go and find out, well, wait a minute.
There's more into it. I had a great discussion with the police chief, and he said, "Hey, Rami, I have been disconnected with my troops, and this is one of
Mm,
the big cities." And I said, "When was the last time you actually ride with a patrol guy?
yeah,
Or what was the last time you wrote a ticket? What was the last time you took a call
yeah,
and you actually on the street and says, 'This is the police chief. It's my badge number. I'm pulling over this guy. Let me write it.'" When was the last time you said? Many years ago, man. I said, "Okay, chief, let me tell you this. You have 2 hours, right, in the week that you can put aside. Can you just jump in the patrol car 2 hours and go and just drive and
yeah,
say, and because they have to announce their name, that it's a badge number, I'm in the patrol, and basically to put you into the roster that if they get a call, they send it to you and you have to take it based on your location. And you go take a call, and then sometimes multiple cars, officers show up, and what do you think those officers, they're going to see their police chief is taking a call, then the same call with them, and he's writing the report, he's with them, and then you know what kind of life these guys are living, and then you build that relationship. He took my advice. He's been doing it for 6 months, and he said, "Man, things has changed."
Rami,
And
you're a genius.
I swear to God, he said
Rami
times
for
has changed.
president. I'm de- I'm declaring my support right now. Rami for president. Look,
He was so happy. Like he said,
how
it's not
beautiful is that?
complex. Yes, if he
Yeah.
said, now they're coming to me, they're talking. He didn't know the new reporting system. He learned it on the street. Can you believe that?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
and
Wow.
and he said the best time that I have right now is 2 hours a week that I'm out there. I said, just
Yeah.
have fun with it, man. You have
Yeah.
you run like a 600 officers in your under your command, but Go out there, have fun with them, just be one of them. What is
Yes.
wrong with that? And now he's
Yes.
taking a call. He goes over there, and officers they really respect him now, like really.
Of course they do. You're willing to walk the walk, right? Not just talk it. And we've had a lie that we've bought into for a long, long, long time, which is what you don't know can't hurt you. That's not true. It's what you don't know about your company or
That's
about
gonna
what
hurt you.
people are facing and dealing with. It's hurting you every day. And I love that. And one of the most important things I used to do, I'd go into these big companies, or I still do. I go into these companies and I get set up a happy hour, and it's everybody's invited from a certain group or whatever. And you'll have the vice president, who nobody really ever gets to see much or talk to, sitting next to intern who's been there 2 months, and they start a conversation. Or generally I go try to start it. Hey, tell VP what you were telling me about what a pain in the rear it is to have to go through this process every time you get ready to do this normal function. And if you've got great leadership, which many companies do, they're just not having access to that information. When they hear it, they go, what, that's crazy. Well, how do we fix that? What do we need to do? And it's that power of people that are doing the work talking to the people that are leading the company. And you've captured that in a very elegant and simple way. 2 hours, that's all you asked. You didn't
2 hours.
say, I want you to do 2 years of riding around a patrol car, go back to the ranks. It's amazing what you can find out in 2 hours.
Oh yeah, he find out so many stuff that is wrong, and then he start talking to officers that what you need, what are your things, like the body
Yeah.
cam was messed up and everything is because they had to go up the rank, and he wouldn't get it, and
Yeah.
he start understanding it. Sometimes simple things more than can change. Big things. Like the other day, I was in my kitchen in the office, and we have a little kitchen, and I was washing my cup. And one of my staff said, "Hey, sir, just leave it there. We'll wash it." I said, "No, when I came to this country, I was a dishwasher. I love
Yeah.
washing dishes. Do you want me to wash yours?" He said, "No, no, no." And then I washed one. And since that day, everybody washing their cups and put it away.
You showed them, right? You
Yeah, it was.
demonstrated. You led.
It was
You
so
led
funny.
in a way.
It was so funny. And sometimes I see that I'm dusting my desk and all that stuff because we don't have a cleaning crew coming. We had to
Yeah.
cut the cost. And then, I'm
Yeah.
cleaning my desk. Oh, they said, "Oh shit, he's cleaning. I'm gonna do it." And then we have fun. We have fun
Yeah.
doing it, and we talk. It's just, it's very simple. It's really running a family. Respect as you
Mm.
want to be respected. Care as you want other people to care for you. It's really not like a physics problem you're going to solve. Is
Yeah.
so simple, but we as a human, we have a tendency to make everything complicated.
I it's you reminded me of I spoke to a former president's chief of staff, and he told me a story that blew me away. He said this particular president from years back, he would, when he went to a big ballroom, right, and all the ambassadors and sheikhs and important people from all around the world are there, right? There's all these CEOs and leaders, and before he would go speak to any of them, he would go around the perimeter of the room where all of the support people were that were going to bring the food and serve the wine and do that. And he would go and shake all of their hands and go around the circle saying, "Thank you for what you're doing for us tonight."
Yeah,
Now that is servant leadership. That is showing people, a very simple principle. And man, just there's a book in here somewhere. The simple act of you washing your coffee cup it has a profound impact.
yeah, it has,
Yeah.
and a lot of other stuff like that. That's what everybody asking me. Oh, because we changed our brand now. We are Black Ops Agency now. We rebranded. And
Yeah.
from the Optic Tour Agency, we changed it to Black Ops Agency, which is, because we're getting bigger, we do more media and everything else. And everybody telling me, you run your company like you still in the military. I said, no, not really, but I never left a man behind. I'm not going to leave anybody here behind. That's one of my philosophy. And
Yeah.
yes, you might think like that, but they call us the Black Ops Agency because we are lean, mean, and we get the results, and then we do our things, and we stay together as a tribe. Like, I go on the shoot, I go on the scene, and I help my camera guy. I said, "Do you want me to help you with this?" And he said, "No, I got it, sir." I said, "No, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm 1 hour, I can do anything. I move this, I sweep, I do that, run the wire. I don't care.
Yeah.
Where you were in there, you were in it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just, that's what the people that come from the military, they have a different perspective because you work with such a tight tribe and environment, and you come to corporate environment and say, whoa, 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 these people, they're not near and watching each other's back. What's going on? And then you have that culture shock.
Yeah.
But we had so many people we tried to hire here. They were so like selfish, and they were just about them. And I pulled them and said, you have the skills, but I'm sorry, this culture is not built for that. Our
Yeah.
culture is like this. We if the guy needs help, we are there for him.
Yeah. Yes.
This is how it's gonna work.
Yeah.
And some people, they cannot digest that. Maybe they haven't been trained or haven't seen it. I don't know, be
Yeah.
honest with you, but it's doable. Having a great company with a great culture, it doesn't matter what size is that. I think is doable.
Mm. Mm. It's brilliant, and it's easy to demonstrate on a day-to-day basis. Uh, just that simple act. I've got when I'm doing some work for a $10 billion company right now, and I work with their executive team. One of the most important things I do is when I'm there, when I'm done with my coffee. I don't know why I have my Van Gogh with his ear chopped
That's
off mug on the pocket. I gotta get a
that's
better mug.
that's
I
kind of
gotta
cute.
get a better mug. But when I've got the company mug, I'm done with my coffee. I go and I wash my cup and I put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just a simple way of saying that. Look, yes, this is my role. This is what I'm doing. But I'm also participating in the just the day to day mundanity, if you will, of what's going on with the company as well. And this is one of the things I think I fell in love with and was really impressed with about you is that servant mentality and leadership, that you're not sitting up here dictating orders. It is team. And when you say team, when some people say team, they mean a bunch of people who do everything I want and tell them and make my life easier. But when you say team, you're talking about people that whose lives you're invested in and care about, and by the way, sometimes the most important thing to a team is to lead, is to be in that
Yep.
position of things they don't know, and you need to take everybody along. Hey, we're going to go here. Here's where I found the water is. Let's go this way. And if they trust you, then they'll go. They'll march. They'll head in that direction.
It's all about creating that safety zone. Somebody
Yeah,
called me and said, "Hey, I need your help. Our sales is so down, and we have a great product." And I went over there. I said, "Let me talk to your staff." And I
yeah,
started talking to his staff. I said, "Dude, you don't have a sales problem. You have a cultural problem."
yeah, yeah.
And he said,
Yes,
"What is, they're not," he said, "They're different. They have everything." I said, "No, dude, they have a culture. They're disconnected. They're all disconnected. It's like a circuit. When your circuit is not working, you can't send that message. It's broken.
yeah,
And these guys, they're not connected with one another and with you. And
yes,
that's what they're not pushing it. That's what they don't know what to do. You have the cultural and connection problem rather than sales problem. And in no time, when we fix that, and then everything back to normal, and we had to fix a lot of stuff, but it just started working. And I said, it's everything about people, man.
mm,
It's
I
so
love it.
important. People, they just miss that. Really, it's
Yes,
miss that. Even if it's a personal relationship, you live with one person, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. It's a human. It's about that communication.
yes,
How you're gonna build the trust is communicating. It's the same thing in the corporate. It's the same thing in
yes,
the business. you have a bigger family. That's it.
Yep.
It's
It's
just, you have to treat it exactly like a family. When you do that, everything will work. And be transparent. Guys, we're losing money.
yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Be losing money. What we have to
Yeah.
do. And maybe somebody somehow has a good, or have a good, suggestion, and listen to
There,
it.
there are billion-dollar ideas in a lot of companies that will be listening to this podcast that they'll never hear about because it's coming from somebody, closer to the valve. I I had a guy, top salesperson in the world, this very expensive men's brand, clothes, jackets, all this stuff. This guy was head of sales at this one store. It happened to be in Dallas, by the way. And they've got stores in Rome and, all over the world. He goes at the big leadership, or the big meeting, the annual meeting for the company. And he went up to the leadership and the owners and he said, "Hey, I have some ideas that I think could help make us some money and help make us better as a company." And you know what they did?
Hmm.
"Thank you. We've got it. Thank you. Appreciate it. But no, we don't need that." And as I say, you know what he did? He quit. He left. He said, "I'm not going to be a part of a company where the head sales guy, the leadership team won't even listen to." And they begged him to come back. They pleaded with him, "Please, please, please. You're our top salesperson. You have to come back." And he's like, "No, no, no." And he went to a different company where they would listen to him. And it is not that hard.
It is not
It's
that
just
hard.
not that hard.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Understand the people, respect them as you want to be respected, and just listen, because listening is everything, man. Listening.
Yeah.
You can listen to somebody, but you are actually not there. But when you
Yeah.
actively listen to
Yeah.
what they're saying, sometimes these golden nuggets are there, and you can take advantage of it and make your company a better company.
There are,
Many times I try that. I listen to some of my staff. They say, "Hey, we don't need this equipment. Let's sell it. Let's get." And I say, "Sure, go do it." And it's 23 years old. I can say,
wow.
just say, I'm 57. How much experience do you have? And then what is the worst case scenario? They're gonna make a mistakes. We're gonna bounce back. We're gonna fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it
There,
is.
there are solutions to problems that companies are facing they've had for a long time, sitting at a desk or a cubicle, maybe, 100 feet away. Uh, and if you can tap into that, I heard a great story about a hotel, true story, a hotel chain, and they were doing a big annual meeting. They had 1,000 people there. And top person got up and said, "Hey, we have a big problem. We're losing revenue because people are bringing their pets into the room on property. They're sneaking them in and they're not paying the pet charge, right? There's an upcharge many places. Don't get me started on that. But,
Yeah.
at any rate, you can't bring your pet without paying extra, right? In case they do some damage or whatever." And he said, "Has anybody here been able to solve that? Because we're losing thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over this." This one person in the back is raising their hand. He said, "Okay, you've solved this problem." He said, "Yep." He said, "People are paying their pet fees." He said, "Yep." He said, "Well, how'd you do it?" He said, "Well, I knew it was a problem. So I went down to the local store, hardware store, and I bought a dog whistle. And I would go down the hallway and blow that dog whistle. And when a dog starts barking in room 217, I write it down and I go downstairs and we call that room and say, "Hey, it's been a mistake. We, realized that probably overlooked it, but you've got a dog, and so we're gonna have to add on the dog." I thought, what an elegant, simple solution. So they went out and bought dog whistles for all of the managers that were there at this big, huge conference. But there are ideas that are deal changers, and you could share stories after stories of people that have had something that changed the company. This isn't necessarily a particular person, though I could tell a great Google one, but AWS
Yep.
is a major part of the revenue stream for Amazon, and it was never even thought that it would make any money at all. It
At
wasn't
all.
intended to be. And they spun this off as a need on their part. And guess what? Now it's a dominant. I mean, nobody knows this better than you on the tech
Yeah.
side. How
Because we
dominant?
do have a server on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but the principle, it doesn't matter more than the size of the company is small. I told you, the principle of this cultural shift, cultural change, or the leadership, the principles are the same,
yes,
regardless of the size that you have. You face that. You talk to these people. You
yeah,
went to the company, they have 1,000, and you went to the company, spoke with them, they had 30.
yeah,
And sometimes they don't have $1 million problem. They all have a people problem. Most of the
right.
companies, they have
Yes,
people problem, and they don't
yes,
get it because who makes the
yes,
money? People. Who breaks the money? People. Everything comes back to people. People that can make you or break you. As simple
yes,
as that. Why you don't taking care of the core?
yes. The core is everything.
Like
And
they
I,
said, the guys, they have to work out their core. Otherwise, this is not. Is right. You
yeah,
gotta work your core.
you're giving me flashbacks. I have PTSD about my trainer. All we worked on when I was the core. But yeah, I'm gonna in 60 seconds gonna give you a quick roadmap
Oh,
for
great! I
culture.
love that.
It's four C's. The first C is call it by the right name. A lot of companies don't work on their culture because they're saying it's this, but it's not that at all. It's really this, right? You got to be honest about what the state is. I have companies say we got a great company culture. They don't. It's terrible. You can see it when you go spend some time. Second, you have to craft it. Cultures happen by default or they happen by design. We understand from a architecture, you have to have a roadmap and a plan, and this is what we want it to look like, so this is what we need to do. You have to craft it. What do we want our culture to look like? And you shouldn't do a copycat culture. Well, Google does this, so well, that's what we're going to do. It may not work for your business. I would imagine you have a unique, you've borrowed, I'm sure, from other places, but you've got a unique
Yep.
aspect, right? Then you have to cast it. I mean, this was in Good to Great a long time ago. You got to get the right people on the bus. And if you want high energy people that do certain things, you have to hire people that do that, or you have to inspire and educate people to do that. And then you have to cultivate it, because putting a seed in the ground and watching a plant bloom and then forgetting about it for 10 years, unless it's like a super hardy plant, which most aren't, it's not going to, if you don't water it, you don't feed it, you don't take care of it, nurture it, it's not going to stay alive. So very, very simple, call by the right name, craft it, design it, cast it, get the right people in there and cultivate it. And I know that's kind of a quick hit formula or process, but only 16% of executives say their culture is where it needs to be, Robbie. And I hope people are going to
Wow.
hear this podcast and get excited about thinking about something they don't know. How do
Yep.
I, the beginning of change is recognize I don't know how to do this. This is what you did with your staff the other day when you said,
And
I
then
don't help
yeah,
me.
I don't
I
know
don't.
it, and and then
Yeah,
ask. This is what
yeah,
people, the leaders, don't understand. If you
yeah.
don't know something, ask. The three words alcoholic people they cannot say, otherwise they wouldn't be alcoholic. Is
Right.
I need help.
Yes.
If we can say I need help, it doesn't, because so many people they bring speakers. Oh, we have a corporate event. We bring this leadership expert experience, and then they talk, they leave, done,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
go back to their old habits, whatever it is. But the problem comes with that leader. I would get personal coaching leadership for the leader rather than spend the money on the whole crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yep.
you can fix everything from that, and when you change, everything changes. That's what people, they bring this kind of vitamin B12 shots to organization, that I call it. They bring all this stuff. This good is great. You motivate people and everything else, but you got to be transparent and you got to put yourself in their shoes.
I agree 1,000%. And I do a lot of that speaking, and I bake into my contract all of these, other opportunities like, hey, let's spend hours with the executive team and talk about how to implement this, or let's do some
Great.
follow up, or let's do. And I can't tell you how many times people go, no, 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 no. We just want you to get up, speak, be done. And they have a saying in Africa: one rain only brings drought. And
Hmm.
so we don't want to be one rain kind of people. We want to be, a steady nurturing of a company and a culture. And that's where people get the maximum amount of value, is not when they just, I've read some great books, and I've read some great books that were great at the time, but I haven't implemented them. I've underlined and everything, but I never go back to them. They're
Because
great ones.
you go do the speaking, and you drive these people, you show them the four C's, you do all of
Yep.
the stuff, and
Yep.
what they do, they go and they get motivated, they get encouraged, they juice, they said,
Yeah.
Martin, we love you, and they
Yeah.
go, bam, they get
Bam.
blocked by the leader,
Right back. Yep. Yep.
right
Yep.
back, and say,
And the leader's going, we're not going to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yep.
what is the point of just wasting Martin's time?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't, unfortunately, can get it. But a lot, man. You and I, we should get together soon. Talk about a lot of stuff. I
I
really
can't
like
wait.
your energy, and I hope you come to Austin. I know you're busy. You got a limited time, and I look forward to see you down here, man. Just if next time you're here, just give me a holler, man. You got my
I
phone number.
will. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, give us give me a call. We get together for lunch or something, and we kind of dive in it. And because I know some great people that you should interview in your podcast, they will enjoy your conversation, and I will start doing those introductions for you as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you, Mar. Thank you, Mar. That's meant so much to me, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm thrilled to know you and very honored to be on here. And as I say, let's do life together. So let's not make this one rain. That
No,
we're gonna have a steady,
absolutely. And
yeah.
you have so many amazing books out there, and where people can buy it, where can find you. Just very quick.
So Daren Martin, Daren, one R and an E, Martin.com is probably the easiest path to go to. They can find the books, but you can also get them on Amazon, Target's
But
website.
you have a special great deal on your website, $47 for all the books.
It's a really, really good deal. Yeah.
Oh my God. When I saw it, I told
Yeah.
my manager, I said, order it
Yeah.
because everybody can read it, everybody can learn. That's the
Yeah.
amazing deal, and it's a very educational. And the way you kind of illustrate your books in the kind of more drawing and then very short text is a easy to read, even when you have your coffee. It's
I
so
call
easy.
it I call it quick read, high impact.
Yeah,
So
I love it.
yeah,
I really suggest if you're listening, you're watching, just make sure you get that.
yeah.
It's a great collection. But thank you, Marty. Thank you for being here with
Thank
me.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.